She messaged, "I'll make it up to you." I never read it. I was already gone. The phone vibrated against the kitchen counter at 2:13 a.m. Not loud. Just enough to wake the part of me that never really slept anymore. Maya was in the shower upstairs. Water rushing through the pipes. Soft humming behind the bathroom door. I stared at her. Unknown number. One message. "She's lying to you." That was it. No name, no explanation. Just 6 words that split the room open. I read it 3 times while the refrigerator hummed beside me like nothing had happened. Then another message came through. A photo. Blurry, dim restaurant lighting. Maya sitting across from a man in a charcoal coat. His hand on hers. Timestamp 3 nights ago. The night she told me she was staying late at the hospital. I didn't feel rage. That would have been easier. What I felt was colder. Like my body had quietly disconnected from itself. Upstairs, the shower stopped. I locked the phone and placed it exactly where it had been before my hands touched. Then I stood there in the dark kitchen, listening to her footsteps move across the floorboards above me. Slow, comfortable, safe. That was the part that stayed with me. Not the picture, not the message, the comfort. As if betrayal had become routine for her. As if she had done it enough times to stop shaking afterward. She came downstairs wearing my gray sweatshirt. Hair wet, face soft with exhaustion. "You're awake?" She asked quietly. I looked at her for a long moment. At the woman I had spent 11 years memorizing, then I smiled. Couldn't sleep. And for the first time in my life, I understood how easy it was to lie. The next morning, she kissed my cheek before leaving for work. Same perfume. Same smile. Same gentle touch against my shoulder. Nothing changed. Except now I noticed everything. The hesitation before she answered certain texts. The way she angled her phone away unconsciously. How she started showering the second she got home. Not because she was hiding evidence. Because guilt had routines. I became quiet after that. Not suspicious. Not angry. Quiet. There's a difference. Suspicious men ask questions. Quiet men collect answers. 3 days later, I checked our phone records. I already knew the number before I found it. Hundreds of calls. Most after midnight. Some lasting hours. I copied everything onto a flash drive and returned the records. Exactly where they were. At dinner, she laughed at something on television while eating pasta across from me. I watched her swirl noodles around the fork. Steady hands. No fear. That disturbed me more than the affair itself, because it meant she believed I would never leave. That kind of confidence only comes from practice. "You okay?" she asked. "Why? You've been distant?" I almost laughed. Instead, I took a sip of wine. "Just tired." She nodded slowly, relieved by the answer she wanted. Then she reached for my hand, and I let her hold it. That night, while she slept beside me, I unlocked her phone using the code she thought I didn't know. Our anniversary. Predictable. said while my hands shook for the first time since the messages. 8-year-old Noah slept down the hall. The boy who called me dad. The boy who looked enough like me that I never questioned anything. Until now. I hated myself for ordering the test, but I hated her more for making me capable of it. When the results finally arrived, I didn't open them immediately. I made coffee first, fed the dog, watered the plants. Strange how ordinary movements become sacred before devastation. Then I sat alone at the kitchen table and opened the envelope. Not the father. 3 words. That was all it took. The room didn't spin. I didn't scream. I just sat there staring at the paper, while morning sunlight crawled slowly across the floor. 11 years. Gone in a sentence. I looked at Noah's school picture on the refrigerator. Gap-toothed smile. Tiny baseball cap. And the sickest part? I still loved him instantly. Nothing changed her, which made what she did even crueler. Maya came home around 6. She walked into the kitchen and immediately sensed it. Women always know when silence changes shape. What happened? She asked softly. I slid the folder across the table. No speech, no accusation, just the evidence. Phone records on top, photos beneath, DNA results at the bottom like a final knife. She opened the folder slowly. I watched her face lose color in stages. Confusion, fear, collapse. Oh my God. Her voice cracked. Then the crying started. Immediate, violent. Like she had rehearsed this moment privately for years. I can explain. No, I said calmly. You can't. She covered her mouth with shaking hands. I was going to tell you. Another lie. We both knew it. When? I asked. Before or after I died believing he was mine? That silenced her. She sat down hard in the chair across from me, crying into her palms. I felt nothing. That was the strange part. No triumph. No hatred. Just distance. Cold and enormous. How long did you know? She whispered. Long enough. And Noah. Her voice shattered on his name. I leaned back slowly. He's innocent. You're not. Then I stood and walked upstairs while she broke apart below me. I didn't leave immediately. That would have been emotional. Instead, I prepared. New apartment, separate accounts, lawyers, custody arrangements. Everything quiet. Everything precise. For 2 weeks, we lived like ghosts sharing a house. She tried speaking sometimes. Apologies, excuses, confessions arriving too late to matter. I answered politely. That scared her more than anger ever could. The final blow came on a Thursday night. Ethan's wife arrived at our door. I had mailed her everything anonymously 3 days earlier. Photos, messages, hotel receipts. Truth travels fast when given directions. Maya opened the door and froze. The woman stared at her with swollen red eyes. No screaming. No drama, just devastation standing in human form. I watched from the hallway while Maya collapsed under the weight of another life she had destroyed. That was the moment she finally understood something important. Affairs feel private until consequences become public. Later that night, she knocked softly on the guest room door. I'll make it up to you, she whispered through tears. I looked at the packed suitcase beside the bed. Then at the unread message notification glowing faintly on my phone screen. I never opened it. Because some words lose value after the damage is done. I left before sunrise. No goodbye note. No final speech. Just silence. The highway stretched empty ahead of me, while the city disappeared slowly in the rearview mirror. People think revenge is loud. It isn't. Real revenge is emotional withdrawal. It's becoming unreachable to the person who destroyed you. Months later, Maya still sent messages. Apologies, memories, promises. I deleted everyone unread. Not because I hated her. Because I finally understood her. And once you truly understand someone, the illusion never comes back. The hardest part wasn't losing my marriage. It was realizing the woman I loved never actually existed. Only the version she performed for me did. Sometimes I still think about that first message. She's lying to you. Simple. Merciless. Necessary. Whoever sent it didn't save my marriage. They saved me from wasting the rest of my life inside it. And in the end, that mattered more than love ever did.